Bob Lutz has done it all. The 78-year-old vice chairman and head of product development at General Motors is finally retiring. He's had an illustrious career. Former president and vice chairman at Chrysler, head of Opel, head of Ford of Europe, the first American on BMW's management board in Munich. There isn't much he hasn't done, and there's hardly anybody worthwhile in the industry he hasn't known or had a meeting with. At GM, he arrived in 2001 to transform a dysfunctional product development system. The rewards have been obvious. Great new cars like the Cadillac CTS, the new Buick LaCrosse, and this Chevy Equinox, which have received raved reviews from most journalists. I recently spent 2 hours with Bob at his farm in Ann Arbor, Michigan. We gave Bob a kind of Rorschach test, showed him pictures of people that he's known, products that he's had a hand in, from President Obama to Rick Wagoner, to Lee Iacocca, the Pontiac Solstice, and yes, even that 1990 Chrysler Imperial. We hope you enjoy the videos. I'm David Kiley for Popular Mechanics.
Lee Iacocca and I had sort of a love-hate relationship, and it was almost like a father who is proud of his son, but he doesn't want the son to overshadow him at any point. For the succession at Chrysler, he had what he called the ABL system, which was anybody but Lutz. That he has been quoted several times recently as saying not making me his successor at Chrysler was the biggest mistake of his life, and there's now a great deal of mutual respect. Certainly a highly successful automobile executive. While he had an extremely good streak about 5 or 6 years ago with the revolution in Nissan design. It was a design-led revolution from world's ugliest cars to some of the world's best-looking cars. Then there was a very rapid rise in sales and profitability. But, you know, recently I think he has gotten to the point where some of the things he does work and other things he does do not work. First of all, I have to say I'm a Republican, free market Republican. On the other hand, I will be eternally grateful to President Obama and the Obama administration for what they did for the American automobile industry and the willingness to risk political popularity with the basic salvation of General Motors and also Chrysler. I do believe that was the right thing to do, and many free market Republicans would have said, let them fail, which would have been an economic disaster at that point. And he had the courage to push this through, even though it cost him popularity. And for that, the man has my respect. Rick Wagoner, I've always said, a person I've always admired greatly. It is hard to find an automotive CEO who had a greater knowledge of the business, a greater native intelligence, and a higher level of personal integrity. Well, Jerry was a good colleague of mine in finance during the time that we saved the Chrysler Corporation. A very gifted person. He had ways of achieving his goals which were sometimes not altogether transparent or straightforward. Kirk Kerkorian, I met him a few times. I rather liked him in terms of not being willing to age gracefully. He's certainly a role model in that respect. Well, Bob Eaton, we had a very good partnership at Chrysler. I would say he played the role of kind of setting the agenda, the partnership. I like him very much as a person, and as a business partner, he was ideal. I mean, we complemented each other very nicely, and there's no arguing with the success that we had at Chrysler when we were in charge of the place. Undoubtedly a very principled man, and a man who deeply believes what he believes. I just don't believe it. One of the finest examples of a car that incorporates the essence of what sports cars should be all about, which is fun to drive, agile, not too big, not too expensive, and with decent fuel economy. I consider the Volt and my championing of the Volt against what was initially very hard resistance in the company, and now seeing it come to fruition, I consider that to be the crowning achievement of my career. Because you'd say, well, okay, but you did the Dodge Viper. Yes, I know I did that, and I did caused the Ford Sierra to happen in Europe, and 1981 Escort Car of the Year, and all that stuff. That's all well and good, but those were all variations on a theme that, known technology and variations on a theme that already existed. The nice thing about the Volt is it's a radical break with anything that anybody has done in the past, and a major bet on lithium-ion technology, which many people, including Toyota, officially stated lithium-ion batteries will never work. And now to be able to confound the skeptics and the naysayers and actually have this vehicle go into production is, that's one of the reasons why I can comfortably look in the mirror and tell myself my work is done here. And it had a transformational effect on Chrysler. In terms of unit volume, it didn't matter. At a time when there was no confidence in Chrysler, like Chrysler is so resource poor, they'll never be able to do anything but variations off the K car. In terms of demonstrating internally, both externally and internally inside the company, which was a very important thing, the morale effect inside the company of, hey, if we pull together and do our jobs well, we can do anything we want to do. It was a very radical car at the time. It had an immediate fast start in Europe, continental Europe. It was slow getting off the ground in the UK, because the UK is very traditionally oriented in terms of style, and it came on the heels of the very angular Ford Cortina, which was everybody's favorite in the UK. It withstood the test of time. I mean, that body in its four-door form was in production for over 10 years and made a ton of money for the Ford Motor Company. Not a market success for a variety of reasons. It did do one thing. It broke the back on the belief that General Motors can't do global products. The GTO demonstrated that we could get a unified set of engineering standards, we could get a unified set of testing standards, we could collaborate internationally and coordinate our architectures to where they would be global. The minivan, well, I can't take any credit for that at all. I think the credit for that probably goes to Hal Sperlich and Lee Iacocca. That was well on its way when I got to Chrysler. But the original minivan was a stroke of product genius, a leap of faith on the part of Chrysler, an investment of $750 million for the first minivan plant at a time when Chrysler really didn't have the money. But that vehicle, more than anything else, turned Chrysler around the first time. That was the source of one of the major arguments that Lee Iacocca and I had. And I said, look, he showed it to me and he said, what do you think? And I said, I think this is a disaster. The thing is aesthetically 10 years old the day it comes out. And he said, well, what's wrong with it? I said, well, what's wrong with it is that angular waterline styling, the opera window with the little filigree gold lines in it, the padded vinyl roof, the phony wire wheels. I mean, that's what's wrong with it. And he said, well, you may not like it because you're too young, but by the time you're 65, you'll like a car like that. And I said, no, I won't, because my generation admires high-end European cars. You like it because when you were 40 years old, that's what American luxury cars look like. Famously, and it was, one of my political mistakes, when we showed it to the media for the first time, I said, take a good look at this car because you'll never see another Chrysler like this again.